Hi, everyone, and welcome into Joshing Around Milwaukee. My name is Josh Albrecht, and with me is...
Hey, it's Josh Albrecht.
That's right, Josh Albrecht and Josh Albrecht, and we are here to talk about all the wonderful things about Milwaukee and what makes Milwaukee so great. And we are very excited to have on Nancy Hernandez joining us today. And Nancy is with the Hispanic Collaborative. Nancy, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
So first and foremost, especially when it's a new guest on the show, sometimes I just want to let you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself before we get started.
Absolutely. So Nancy Hernandez, was born and raised here in Milwaukee, went away to school, but came back. And so been here for many, many years. I grew up on Milwaukee's near south side, so in the Walker's Point area. And I kind of live on the farthest side of Milwaukee County that you can get to right now. So, but love Milwaukee. And right now I've been in marketing communications. I have a marketing communications firm. And I head up an initiative called the Hispanic Collaborative right now.
Very cool. And so tell us a little bit about the Hispanic Collaborative.
Absolutely. So the Hispanic Collaborative is a civic initiative aimed at improving Milwaukee to a top 10 city on something that we call the Hispanic Well-being Index. So what we actually do is we track 40 variables about our Latino population here in the MSA, and we do the same thing for the top 50 metros in the U.S. So we can compare how Latinos do here to how Latinos do elsewhere. Sometimes, it doesn't tell you the story of how is someone doing here against the rest of the population, but really comparing that Latino population gives us a lot of really rich data, and then that lets us then create some initiatives to move Milwaukee up, because this is an important demographic for anybody's future right now, and we want to make sure that Milwaukee is super competitive in growing and keeping and attracting more talent to this area.
Yeah, this is really vital work for the, to not only is it just being intentional about diversity, equity, inclusion, but just intentional about city growth in general. And I love that you said talent attraction, and that's really what it's all about. How can we solidify Milwaukee as a place that people want to grow up, want to raise families here, want to invest here with their businesses? And so with that, with the efforts that the collaborative has been making over the years, how have things changed? What kind of growth have you seen over the last few years with the hard work that you've all been doing?
So, we've seen some really positive changes. Like if we look on the educational sector, we have a lot of, we know we have a lot of Latino kids in the K-12 pipe, but we've seen a big increase of them going into colleges now that, that we have about 25,000 Latinos in the college pipeline right now and enrolled in the state of Wisconsin. And that's a big number when we start talking about who are our future workforce. And that lets us talk about the gamut of workforce. So it's not low-skilled, entry-level positions, but it's also, they're you're coming up, your doctors and your lawyers and, your radio hosts, et cetera. And so that's one thing that I think that we can look at and we're really proud of. The other is, this is a population that over-indexes on a lot of things. And good thing for our region is they over-index on labor force participation, right? And so that means a lot of Latinos are out there. We're actually about 10 percentage points higher than the rest of the population in this area in terms of, how many people are in the labor force. And so that's an important number for us to keep in mind because all of that helps power growth. Just looking at the numbers, the state of Wisconsin over the past 15 years has lost about 139,000 people, right? If we just in that prime working age population, 25 to 54. Well, good thing for the state, Latinos have made up that gap, right? And we've had a plus about 140,000 on them. And so these are really important data points to think about. And all of those data points are, your friends and your neighbors and the family down the street and the kids, that go to school with your kids.
Yeah.
And so it's important to talk about it from both ways, right? Both in the experience and richness that it adds to all of our lives, but also in that macro level so we can understand what kind of policy and programs we need to make sure that this demographic is, working at full force, so the rest of us can also work at full force too.
Yeah, I think it's a really exciting initiative, and sort of that immigration from Milwaukee specifically in our region has changed over time, right? I mean, most people throughout the country think immediately German heritage, right? And because of that strong German culture that started in the city, but it's changed over the years. When did you start seeing, or when did Milwaukee start seeing more of an influx of Hispanic and Latino immigrants coming to the community and staking a claim for their neighborhoods and their culture in our city?
Yeah. So if you look historically, like if you did a histogram, right, of how long have Latinos been here, it kind of looks like a saddle would, right? And so you've got a big nucleus of folks that have been here 30 plus years. And many of those families go way back to some of the workforce programs that you started seeing, right, in the 40s, 50s, et cetera. And then it kind of, you go down to a trough. And then if you look at the past, maybe who's been here 10 years or less, you also have another big bump into that. And so that's kind of how it falls out. But, I think one thing that's important is we always think about maybe immigration as being the biggest driver of growth. The biggest driver of growth is the fact that Latinos are the only population with a birth rate over 2, right? And so who's having kids and who's growing the population? Sure. And that's really where the growth has been coming from in the state of Wisconsin and in this region for the past 10 years at least. Yeah,
that's I know the strong family connection is a big development of it, right? And making sure the city's ready for that. And then I love why education is such a strong component of what the Hispanic Collaborative is about, because if it's about family and new babies, right, making sure our educational system is right for them for the next 20, 30, 40 years is so crucial to the development of where we're going with all the universities we have here. Like, so just in general, that's such a great part of the efforts y'all are doing. Besides education, what kind of work is going on with like small business development and helping entrepreneurs within the space?
Yeah, there's some really strong partners in the area that work a lot on the entrepreneurial state, right? So the Latino Chamber of Commerce of Wisconsin is a fantastic partner. WIBIC is a fantastic partner and does a lot of arms. And there's a lot of other organizations that really try to wrap themselves around those small business owners. I think one thing that we have to think about is the Latino entrepreneur is the biggest force behind small business growth. I mean, new businesses if we look at Main Street America, they're responsible for about 70 to 80% of those new Main Street businesses. And that's a fantastic dynamic if we can really harness it here. Unfortunately, our numbers lag behind a little bit, but that doesn't mean that the potential's not there, right? These are the same Latinos that are starting businesses all over the place. And so I think if we look at programs like the Latino Chamber does and WIBIC, which are, about putting more capital out there and helping with technical assistance, and we really kind of put that on steroids, we can see some fantastic growth and more jobs and, more production, period, because of that.
I have questions about the collaborative and the index that you brought up, but we're going to take a quick break before I get to those and more here on Joshing Around Milwaukee. Stay tuned. Welcome back, everyone, to Joshing Around Milwaukee. We are having a great time on today's episode, and you can have a great time at Potawatomi Casino Hotel Milwaukee with thousands of the hottest slots, nearly 100 high-energy table games, and a sleek new poker room. The thrills are endless. Take your love of sports to the next level at the region's best sportsbook with an over 2,000 square foot video wall. Nonstop betting and all the live sports you can handle. Potawatomi Casino Hotel Milwaukee, your win is waiting. Nancy Hernandez is here with us today. Nancy, thanks again for being with us. We're talking about the Hispanic Collaborative, and you talked about, kind of this index and all of the data that it really seems like you guys are being able to find. Is this happening in other parts of the U.S. that you can kind of see, like what's working in a different region or state and kind of help that to bump up the numbers?
Yeah, so I'll answer that in two ways. The answer is yes and no.
Okay.
The first, I'll answer the no question. thumbs up for Milwaukee's ingenuity, right? Like, we came up with the Hispanic Well-being Index here as a way to look at things. So this
Very
is
cool.
really a homegrown index that we have. We did it in conjunction with UWM and their Center for Urban Development. And so, great partner that we've had in developing this piece. And we've now done 3 iterations of this index. And 2026 will bring us new data. So let's put it on the books now, because we'd love to come back and talk about what that's saying. So Wisconsin Ingenuity, nobody else is doing this index but us. But we're really, really good at sharing this. And we talk to what's happening in other, if we think about top metros, period, that have great overall numbers. But with 40 variables, we can dig into any one of those. And so we know this program over here has a fantastic, entrepreneur numbers. Let's dig in there and see what's happening. And are there things that we can mimic and bring here? And so we do quite a bit of that. We're actually thinking about doing a conference here in 2026 around the Hispanic Well-being Index. We also, when I said we're good at sharing it, we also encouraged the African American Leadership Alliance to do one for the African American community. And so we have both of these indexes here as useful tools. And we're thinking about bringing cities here to Milwaukee to dig into this data and talk about how do we more intentionally collaborate around what programs are really getting traction around the U.S.
That's that's awesome, and I love that, just the initiative, as you mentioned, to see there's a need, and instead of kind of waiting for someone else to come along for a way to figure it out, you guys went and put it together. That's very, very cool. So talk about some of those initiatives that once the data is collected, to kind of keep things moving in the right direction. What parts of the collaborative are kind of getting those numbers where you want them to be?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think the key thing about this is, if we think about our fantastic nonprofit community here and all the good that they do, there's really a lot of, good things happening and great programs. What we try to do is distill a little bit of math into that process by using this index and talking about which variable is it that we push on, right, that can get us 80% of the way with 20% of the effort, because these are big complex social issues that we're trying to tackle here. And so I think being beholden to the math, that lets us look at what variables do we need to push on. And I think one of those that is key for us now, is we've been doing this, is really increasing median household income. Now, that's still a big Megillah, right? And there's a variety of different programs within that we might look at and try to help get behind and push. One of the key ones, though, is if you look at where Latinos are concentrated right now, what industries they're working on, they're pretty low-skilled, low-paying, low-demand industries. And so we really need to diversify that. And so we're working right now on a pilot. We've got a lot of partners at the table that is trying to move folks from low-demand jobs to high-demand jobs, and the increase in wages that means. And so that's a win-win, right? Like, if we can fill more of these really in-demand jobs, we're not only buoying those households from an economic standpoint, but we're helping the region with some of those key areas that they need and pushing on that regional prosperity. And so that's a key example of what we try to do by bringing the data together, putting clarity on those issues, and bringing the partners to the table to address those.
Yeah, kind of a domino effect of, finding that one thing and then hopefully having it knock out multiple needs to make things better for everyone. That's very, very cool. So I also have here some notes about the Hispanic Commercial Real Estate Conference that you guys have set up in 2020.
Yes. So we did, that was our first year that we did a conference. And if you think about some of the key things that we're trying to do, well, increase median household income. It's a fantastic industry if we think about the real estate industry to go into for that. We're also trying to increase entrepreneurialism in Latino-owned businesses. There's a lot of entrepreneurial tracks within real estate. And really civic participation, neighborhood improvement, all of those pieces kind of fall very much so under that real estate umbrella. So that's what prompted us to do that conference first in 2020, really around the goal of trying to increase the number of Latino-centric projects, trying to increase the number of Latino developers, because we really had almost none, and trying to increase the number of Latinos in the commercial real estate industry. And so we are on year 5. Our next conference is actually going to happen in March of 2026. And we have done some fantastic things in that space. We've really got, right now, I'd say, a burgeoning group of Latino developers that are tackling some different projects. We've got a lot of assistance with them and mentors as part of that piece. So hopefully we're going to see these guys bloom and blossom and really become bigger developers. We've also been able to raise a $2.5 million emerging developer fund, which really helps those entrepreneurs get kind of the right financial stack on their first projects, to make sure that, this wasn't a one-off. This is something that they can continue to build on and have the capital to start doing their next projects on.
Very cool. Well, I mean, I just love in general the way that you guys have everything laid out and you're building upon your own success. And the next part really just seems how people can be a part of it and continue to help you guys do that. And we will discuss that when we come back on Joshing Around Milwaukee. Stay tuned. Welcome back, everyone, to Joshing Around Milwaukee. Josh Albrecht here, Josh Albrecht there. Our wonderful guest, Nancy Hernandez, here. And Nancy, talk to me about what you guys are doing with Hispanic Heritage Month as well.
Well, we are in Hispanic Heritage Month right now, which runs September 15th through October 15th, which, by the way, is where it's like 70 or 80% of all of the Latin American Independence Days fall into that time frame. So that's why they picked the non-month of September 15th to October 15th to be the month of Hispanic Heritage Month. And so we really do a kickoff. So we did ours. We do it at the Deer District. It's a fantastic event. It's open to the public, so put it on your calendar for next year. It'll be sometime around September 15th, again at the Deer District. And we do that as a way to kick off what's happening during this month. So there's a lot of fantastic events that are happening. So, for instance, I know Latino Arts has a big event that they're doing on Saturday night, right? And Hispanic Professionals of Greater Milwaukee will have some things. And we have a Cerveceros, it's not Cerveceros Day, but it's their Hispanic Heritage Month tribute night with the Brewers and things like that happen during this month. All to shine a spotlight on, what are the contributions that Latinos have made to our regional community. And some of that falls in, if we talk about businesses, some of that falls into culture, some of it falls into sports, some of it falls into food, right? We have a lot of contributions from Hispanic Americans around the region, and we really want to shine a spotlight on that and encourage folks to think about this more than just during this month's time frame, right?
Of course.
How do they support and invest? How can they get more involved? How can they just be more aware, right? And a greater understanding of the segment of the population that are, Milwaukeeans through and through, just like them, and really a key part from a demographic standpoint about, everybody's prosperity in the region.
With obviously Visit Milwaukee, we're always conscious of bringing in the entire world to the city to have it be celebrated and showcase the cultures of our city and of our community. If someone was coming in from out of town and they're looking to immerse themselves into Milwaukee and the culture that is represented throughout the city, what are some recommendations based on some of the businesses you've worked with and partners in the community? What would you recommend that they should see? What should a visitor go and experience the Hispanic culture in Milwaukee?
Well, I think that there's, the Latino community and the near South Side, which has been the traditional anchor, are a couple areas to begin to explore, right? They hold some of the biggest commercial corridors in our city. If we think about 16th Street, if we think about 27th Street, if we think about Lincoln Avenue, if we think about Mitchell Street, all of those were or are key Latino corridors and some of the fun Main Street, businesses that are there. You can get everything from, hey, if you want to create a piñata for your kid's birthday party, right, you can find it there, plus all of the candies at some of the candy stores like Dulcelandia or some of those places. You have, florists that do a fantastic job of, just beautiful arrangements for everything from a quinceañera to, paying tribute to somebody's life or something. So there's a lot of different fun and interesting businesses along there, including key grocery stores, and things like that you're going to find some of your staples. But I will say the Latino community has really been moving, further south, further west, and it's kind of taking over. Certainly as we go further south and further west, you see a bigger and bigger footplate. So, I'd encourage you to get out of those areas and go visit something like, if we think about some of the restaurants in West Dallas, right? Like there's fantastic Latino restaurants in West Dallas, or, you even go into Oak Creek. I mean, there's a lot of different areas. And if you think about the hotbed of, just kind of the food culture right now, right? You can't get better than what goes on in Walker's Point these days, right? On 2nd Street and some of the fantastic restaurants that are there. Like I happen to think La Dama has there's many places not many, but a few places I would give this distinction to. La Dama has one of the best margaritas in the city. That's something people should go and experience for yourself.
Should know that.
I would like that to challenge that, right?
Yeah. So that is important information.
Yeah,
that is
challenge accepted.
Yeah. I know what I'm doing. So you had talked a little bit, Nancy, about just the different ways that people can be a part of the goal, the mission here. How can people help you guys, help the collaborative?
Yeah, so we work a lot, I won't say behind the scenes, but we bring folks together to be a part of this. And so there's a couple things that I think are really logical for people to get involved with. Our Hispanic Heritage Month kickoff for one of those. But what we do, now that has already passed, so it would be hard to get involved with this year, but we do at the end of it, like we do a webinar, we do an update on, we call it the State of the Latino State. And we go back to some of that data and we talk about what's happened in the year and the movement on data. And then we do a deep dive into something that's interesting. So last year we tore apart all of the election results from that Latino lens and shared that out. And so we'll be doing that again. I would encourage folks to go to our website. It's free to attend that seminar, so you can go and you can share it out and have folks listen. Or if you can't make it that day, it's always posted on our website so people can go back and listen to it. You can also find out some other things that are happening during this month, during that time frame. But also think about us from a programmatic standpoint, right? So this upskilling project that I was talking about, and you can find information on our website on that. But, it is a program that's available to any working individual who's looking to move from their current position into something more in demand. And so Sure. It's an easy transfer into a CNA program that, might take them a month to complete, and they could be working within, 2 months, theoretically, someplace new in a more in-demand spot. And those are open to folks who are interested in that. And I encourage everybody to kind of find out more about those types of things on our website, which is mkehc.com.
Awesome. mkehc.com. Well, thank you so much, Nancy, for joining us and informing us about the Hispanic Collaborative and everything that you guys have going on. It was awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right. And thank you, everyone, for joining us on this week's episode of Joshing Around Milwaukee. For more information, go to visitmilwaukee.org. All right, everyone. Thanks for tuning into this episode of Joshing Around Milwaukee, where we are talking with Nancy Hernandez and the Hispanic Collaborative. If you're seeing this part of the show, it's because you are watching or listening on one of Visit Milwaukee's social media channels, and we really do appreciate that. Nancy, thank you for all of the information you've given us. But now is the toughie. Now it's a tough question. Josh, take it away.
Yeah, there's so many cool, fun, inventive things happening in Milwaukee and the surrounding area right now. We like to call that fresh city vibes. So what's giving you Fresh City vibes right now?
Well, I'll tell you, Josh. So I am a new empty nester, right? My daughter goes away to school for high school. And so this is a new thing for me. And me and my husband are just starting to kind of get our sea legs about us now and go out and about. And so we've been able to experience, I'll say, a lot of patio dining and drinking in Milwaukee, which I think is fantastic.
Love a good patio.
Yeah, exactly. So everything from like, lunch and dinner cocktails at the Edison or the rooftop in the Kimpton, or just a variety of places that I love being outdoors. So that's been fun to do. And one thing I will share is I am a margarita buff. And so I like to, I have my own little running tally of who has the best margaritas in the city.
Oh, yes.
Right. So I would encourage, to me, fresh lime juice is a key, right? So that's like my number one question when I'm starting. But I will say I'm going to mention two places that I think have fantastic margaritas, and I'm going to encourage everybody to go out in this next week and see what you discover on margaritas
Yes.
and where you like them, right?
Yep.
I like to stave away scurvy, so I stick with the margarita when I go out. And La Dama happens to have a fantastic margarita, but so does Poco Loco. So those are two places that I love, especially when I'm inside or outside dining. And I encourage everybody to come up with their own.
What do you pair with your margarita?
Anything. It goes with anything. It's so versatile.
I didn't know if there was
Whatever.
It's
It's within arm's reach.
refreshing.
Yeah.
It's got a little salt on it. It's limey.
I wanted to
it
know,
goes with everything.
is it like, is it completely against the rules that blended or on the rocks, like those type of, do you have to stay away from blended?
I don't judge. Whatever
A lot of
you
people
like.
judge if you go blended.
No,
They're
no.
like, what is this, an all-inclusive resort? No, you did it on
I
the
am a
rocks.
purist. I do say with the on the rocks with salt, but I do not judge.
Okay. I love it. I love it. You said La Dama and Poco Loco.
Yes.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Nancy. This has been a lot of fun. And, we hope there's future success for all involved.
Thank you.
All right. And thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Joshing Around Milwaukee. For more information, of course, go to visitmilwaukee.org. We'll see you next time.